7:45 on a Tuesday morning in Austin, Texas, and Sarah is standing in a hallway that smells like crayons and hand sanitizer, peeling her 2-year-old off her leg while a director hands her a tablet to sign in. Before she leaves, she taps her card on a reader by the door. $420, payment for the next 2 weeks. She does this every other Friday, rain or shine, promotion or layoff, because without this building, she doesn't have a job. At almost the same moment, 6 time zones away in Berlin, a father named Lukas walks his son through the door of a public daycare center down the street from their apartment. He signs a clipboard. He hangs up a backpack. Nobody swipes a card. Nobody hands him an invoice. He'll pay €23 this month, and that's only because his son eats lunch there. Somewhere between those 2 mornings is where most Americans get their idea of German childcare. Free, generous, a signal that Germany simply solved the problem the US hasn't. And there's truth buried in that. But free childcare in Germany is one of the most misleading phrases in the entire expat conversation, because whether Lukas's story or something much closer to Sarah's, your reality depends entirely on which of Germany's 16 states you happen to live in. I'm Justin. I've lived in Germany for over 12 years. I've registered 2 kids for daycare here myself, and I'm not going to give you the tourist brochure version. I'm going to walk you through what parents in every part of this country actually pay, state by state, the real numbers, not the headline. If any of this is useful, stick around and subscribe, because this channel exists to cut through exactly this kind of myth. The myth is simple: Germany equals free daycare, full stop. The reality is a patchwork so uneven that 2 apartments 20 minutes apart in 2 different states can produce a monthly bill of €0 in one and several hundred euros in the other, for 2 families that look identical on paper. Now, to be fair to the myth, it didn't come from nowhere. Compared to the US, where the national average for a single infant spot at a daycare center runs somewhere around $1,230 a month, and can climb past $2,500 a month in states like Massachusetts or California, Germany's system really has pulled a huge number of families out of paying anything close to that. Several states have genuinely eliminated fees for large stretches of early childhood. That part of the myth is real. It's the everywhere for everyone, no matter what part, that falls apart the second you look at a map. Start with the states where the myth basically holds up. Berlin is the poster child. From around age 1 all the way to school age, daycare is free for every family regardless of income, with that €23 meal fee as close to the only line item most parents ever see. Mecklenburg-Western Pomerania followed the same playbook back in 2020, covering every child from age 2 through school age, up to 10 hours a day for €0 in fees. Bremen has done the same for kids 3 and up since 2019, and Rhineland-Palatinate has covered children from age 2 onward since 2020. Land in one of these 4 states, and the thing you heard before moving here is more or less just true. Move 1 category over and the promise gets an asterisk. Hamburg gives every child up to 5 free hours a day from birth to school age, genuinely free, but the moment a working parent needs more coverage than that, which most working parents do, fees kick back in, scaled to income and family size. Lower Saxony and Hesse run a similar version of this. Free for a defined number of hours, typically 6 to 8, for children 3 and older, with anything beyond that plus meals billed separately. Brandenburg only joined this group in the 2024 to 2025 daycare year, eliminating fees for children 3 and up, while fees for children under 3 still vary block by block. So free in these states often really means free for part of the day, for part of childhood. Then there's a group of states where the free window is much narrower, just the run-up to elementary school. North Rhine-Westphalia, Germany's most populous state, only waives fees for the final 2 years before a child starts school, generally from around age 4. Everything before that is full price, and in high-cost towns like Bergisch Gladbach, families with strong incomes have reported bills as high as €1,220 a month for a full-day spot for a child under 4. Thuringia runs the same 2 years free model. If your kid is an infant or a toddler in either of these states, you're paying real money for a couple of years before the free window opens. Bavaria and Baden-Württemberg take a different approach entirely. They hand a lot of the decision-making down to individual towns, so the same age group can be free in one municipality and expensive 20 minutes away. Bavaria technically subsidizes daycare for children 3 and older, and in lower-cost towns that subsidy covers the whole fee, but in pricier municipalities parents still owe a top-up. For kids under 3, Bavaria offers an income-tested infant subsidy generally available to households earning up to around €60,000 a year, while Munich runs its own reduction program up to roughly €80,000. Baden-Württemberg is even more fragmented. Some cities like Heilbronn offer free care from age 3, while others charge real fees regardless of age. Around €614 a month in Reutlingen, €360 in Ulm, and about €149 in Stuttgart. And then there are the states where the free childcare myth simply doesn't apply. Saxony has no blanket fee waiver at all. A full-day spot in Dresden or Leipzig runs around €229 a month for 9 hours of care. Saxony-Anhalt only waives fees for younger siblings, meaning the oldest child in a family still pays, averaging around €194 a month for kids under 3 and about €154 for kids 3 to 5, though the exact number swings from town to town. As low as €45 in some places, past €360 in others. Saarland and Schleswig-Holstein sit in between. Saarland is phasing fees out entirely by 2027 but currently charges around €164 a month in Saarbrücken, while Schleswig-Holstein caps fees at €288 for kids under 3, with the second child paying half price and the third child free. Set all of that against the US side of the ledger, and the range is just as wide in the opposite direction. Nationally, a single infant spot at a licensed daycare center averages around $1,230 a month, more than $17,000 in a single year, for one child before that child can talk. In Massachusetts or California, that average climbs to somewhere between $2,500 and $3,200 a month. Even in cheaper states like Mississippi or Arkansas, families are still paying somewhere in the $500 to $850 range, which happens to land right around what a family in North Rhine-Westphalia or Saxony might pay for the same age group. The floor of the American system sits roughly where the ceiling of the German system does. Here's where it gets interesting though, because the number on the invoice isn't actually the biggest obstacle German parents run into. It's finding a spot in the first place. Even in cities where care is completely free, waiting lists can stretch for a year or more, and some parents register with multiple facilities the moment they find out they're expecting, just to have a shot at a spot once parental leave runs out. So the honest version of free childcare in Germany isn't that it costs nothing. In a handful of states, it really does. It's that price and access turned out to be two completely separate problems, and Germany solved the first one a lot more thoroughly than the second. If you do move here with kids, one thing that catches almost every American off guard is health insurance. Germany's system is very different from what you're used to, and figuring out whether public or private insurance is the better fit for your family can be surprisingly complicated. Making the right choice early can save you a lot of money and headaches later. I'll drop a link below to the health insurance provider I'd recommend so you can compare your options and find the coverage that best fits your situation. Back in Austin, Sarah's $420 every 2 weeks adds up to a little over $10,000 a year. Not the worst-case American number, just an ordinary one. Lukas, over in Berlin, will spend less on daycare this year than Sarah spends in a single month. But if Lukas had been born 200 miles south in Stuttgart or in a Bavarian town that didn't qualify for the subsidy, his story could look a lot more like hers. The gap between them was never really America versus Germany. It was always which zip code. So if you're planning a move here, or you're already here trying to figure out what you're actually going to owe, a few concrete things to do. 1. Look up your specific state and, just as important, your specific city or district. At state level, its free headline can hide a municipality that still charges full price. 2. Get on daycare waiting lists as early as legally possible. Ideally the moment you know you're expecting, because availability, not cost, is the real bottleneck in most cities. 3. Register for the monthly child benefit regardless of what state you're in. It's separate from daycare fees entirely, and every family qualifies. 4. Even in the fully free states, budget for meals and optional extras, because a small fee like Berlin's €23 is basically guaranteed no matter where you land. Sarah's still going to tap her card every other Friday. Lukas is still going to walk his son past a hallway that never asks him for one. Both of those things are true, and so is everything in between them, depending on which of the 16 different versions of Germany you actually move to. That's the real price of free childcare here. It's not zero, it's just wildly, specifically local. If you want more of these real number breakdowns instead of the postcard version of life in Germany, subscribe and I'll see you